Hello, hello.
Hello, and welcome to Tuesday night, Alpha to Omega Conversations for a New Earth, Conversation 11. Very excited to start. Any of you who showed up last week, we did have some connectivity issues that didn't get fixed for a little bit. So we missed you, and we're glad to be back tonight. How are you feeling tonight, Alissa?
Yes, absolutely. And I am doing good. I'm excited, but I do feel a little bit intimidated with third eye. I have spent so much time like in the body ones and the crown, throat, third eye. I've been trying to like uncover everything, but I'm excited to see what everybody thinks, what they've pulled in. If anybody has searched themselves, I'm trying to open up so I can see comments.
Yeah, that sounds great. And one of the favorite things Brian, great to see you tonight. Thanks so much for the hearts. We love those. We know it's late on the East Coast, so thank you for making the effort. It's great to have you. We definitely, being someone very connected with wisdom and thoughts and so much knowledge, very excited to see what you have to bring to the conversation.
Yes, please. Angel, hi.
No way. First time comment from our dear friend Angel. Thank you so much for joining tonight. Great to see you. So just to recap briefly, we are going up through the chakra system, discussing different traumas that we've experienced, and then just with sort of an open conversation flow, discussing different ways to heal and how we may support each other in doing so. Our last conversation, we were joined by our good friend Cassandra. We went through the voice, the throat chakra, and lots of the blockages that are so severe with the voice, especially for all three of us that were hosting. The voice was like one of the most traumatic of all things, feeling like you can't express your experience and feeling like you have to watch every word at different points in your life and how much that can harm you. Tonight, as Alissa mentioned, we are doing third eye, which is a very hot topic, like anything spiritual or transcendental that you talk about these days. Third eye is always part of the conversation. It's very well depicted, and even on like t-shirts and in malls and all over the place. So big topic. And then just a quick plug of where we're going. Next week is a highly anticipated crown chakra, reaching the summit right before the 8/8 Lionsgate that comes up the week after, and we'll be joined by a special guest that we'll announce soon.
Yes. So excited for next week.
Yeah, next week will be great. So again, the format is, please, any thoughts you have, any comments that you'd like. Oh, no, there's a good one right there.
Last week. Yay. Yes.
Yeah. Thanks again, Cassandra, for your co-host powers on our last. We fully enjoyed it, and we know.
Got my purple on too. So that's something interesting to talk about. I first channeled that it was actually white, purple, blue. And then ever since then, I've been hearing it from other people. They're like, this white and it's purple. I'm like, oh my gosh. So obviously something I've got going on is channeling something that other people are tapped into. But so some people actually think that this as like the deep blue. I think it was like a royal blue. A lot of people do. And how do you say it?
Ajna.
Ajna. Okay, I would say third eye or Anja, which apparently I've been saying it wrong this whole time. Ajna. I'm sure I'll say it wrong again. But so purple and then white. That's how I do it. That's how it feels right to me. But everybody can have their own opinion on that. What do you think? Purple or blue?
Yeah. Post a comment if you have a feeling about the color that most associates with the third eye. But I agree, it's always felt more like a violet thing to me. And going back to the Ajna history, so like Sanskrit is one of the earliest recorded languages that we have. Ajna means third eye in Sanskrit. And, 7,000-8,000 years ago, when they were first recording different things that we now have small scraps of here and there, the Ajna chakra is this energy center right there in the forehead that was just as important to perception as your other two eyes. So the third eye, or Ajna, is like your power of perception. And some of the different Hindu goddesses would have like such powerful third eyes that they could like shoot fire or lasers or water from their third eye, literally. So there are cultures still that will put like a dot on the center of the forehead, or a lot of times you'll see an actual eye image depicted there. And that's really the power source. The beginning we have is like this power to perceive. And so when we talk about perception, what does that mean to you, Alissa, when we're saying like not just looking, but actually perceiving? What does that
Light. Oh, it's not working. Yeah, that's a great question. I looked at this up just to be better equipped to talk about this, but there's observation and then there's perception. And the difference between the two is one is unattached. It's just like seeing blue. This person walked over here. This is what I heard. This is what I saw. Perception is the meaning that you put on the observation. So it's both. It's the power to create meaning to what it is of the information that you pull in through your senses, and then create the idea of what it means. So in our third eye, we need to become aware that we're not only observers, but we're also the one that creates the meaning. That way we can actually become aware of what meaning we're associating with things, because depending on the meaning that we put on what we perceive, we become aware of the lenses that we're actually using that are in there already, usually given to us by like our parents. So depending on what our perception is, which is very important, it's always valid, because that means that's what lenses you have. You can have a lot of different lenses to see through what's pulling into your information. And one of the things that is really destructive, which is why I put one of the main traumas of third eye, is the gaslighting. Because when you begin to believe that you can't trust your observation and your perception, then you no longer even feel comfortable taking the time to express it, to investigate it, to find out, like even hold space for it, to even be there. You become kind of asleep, allowing your perception, allowing your third eye to do its thing without even holding space to be the one waiting, looking what information is coming in and why. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it's true. And it's such a big topic and a big part of our reality that we create. So yeah, let's make sure we don't miss anything here. And it looks like Angel Marie's right on the same wavelength as you.
Yeah.
Purple violet perception power. Let's throw all the P's out there. And then we also have Eve joining us.
Hello, Evie. Miss you.
Means a lot to us, you guys, when we know you're in the Eastern time zone, to be joining us on Tuesday night. So thanks so much for
you hit the pillow.
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe you're in bed. Are you in bed, Evie?
Yeah.
Are you wearing your cute pajamas I bought you?
I wore are they? Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, back on topic.
Yeah, but the question there is like, do we assign meaning to things automatically, or do we have a choice in that role as the observer? Is it just going to happen regardless, or do we actually have a power to say what meaning we're going to assign to different observations?
Right, because guess what? If you don't think about it, the meaning is already going to automatically be assigned, because the perception's already put in place. The lenses is already there. So you see this, but you're already on the path to say that meant something about you that's bad, depending on the lens that you're holding. If it's like, oh, I'm not good enough, whatever those lenses are that you've taken on, you just become the one being aware of how you are perceiving and then how it's digested. And then you're going to then do the full work through with your body and the experience, because of the thought and the perception lenses that you have that it's filtering through.
Okay.
Did you not follow me there?
No, I do, but it just feels like especially in today's world, we're constantly receiving stimuli of different kinds. So like even in just like watching TV or going to the store or any of these things, there's so many things coming at us from so many angles. So how do we become intentional in the way we assign meaning to all these different experiences that we're going through?
Yeah, great question. For me, I would love to hear what you guys do, but for me, it was becoming aware of the thoughts and the meanings as it's happening. When you're watching a movie, you're probably just going to be on autopilot. That's kind of
right. That's right. Good
like, let me have a break. But when you're in your own life, and anytime you're able, the more that you can be mindful, which is like become the one behind the thoughts, becoming aware of the thoughts that are being had. That's what mindfulness is. And if you could do that, then you can redirect the thoughts that come through. So if it's like, I'm realizing that when I saw this, it made me feel this. Okay, well, what was I thinking when I saw it? Because that's the little secret part, that filter that is creating your reality, your embodied reality. And what you're going to feel is going to be dependent on what it is, perception that it was filtered through. Because your feelings you could always trust. It was given a thought. That thought, so that's why you can have that same experience in a different body or a different time after you, and the experience, the feelings change because the feelings were always right.
Mm-hmm.
They were right to what you told yourself about what it means about you. Then you go and you experience that. So you can basically short circuit it by becoming mindful of what's going through and then practice changing the thought. Woohoo! I guess they like that. So does that make sense?
Yeah. So it's like becoming aware and observing the thought and the feeling that's connected to the thought before you just jump into making some kind of meaning out of the thought. It's like slowing down to take that moment to find what you're feeling at the same time.
So feeling comes up afterward. There's a chance that you could bypass it before you even digest it. So if you become aware of thoughts when they come through and you short circuit it by being like, you're aware, like, hey, hold up. We're not going that direction again. You don't even have to feel it. If you're feeling it, it's because part of it is already in you, and it's kind of like giving you more information of parts that are already living in you that's associated. But you don't have to be like, so how do I feel about that? Because then you're going into it. If you're trying to understand it, then that's where the feeling and then like understanding it and the feeling and everything is associated. But once you get good at it, it's not about feeling it. It's about knowing that was not true. And every thought that is about I suck and I'm not good enough and I'm not worthy and all those things, that's all not true. So when you start to become aware, it's pretty easy to be like, oh, that's not true. And so you just redirect it and then you tell yourself the truth. That's changing the filter that got put on again, because you got to get used to just lifting up those filters and clearing them out. But depending on just being the observer of what thoughts you're having and at what point you catch it, yes, there's feelings, yes, there's all these things, and all that information is important. But ultimately, our goal is to, when the thoughts come in, they can come in even when you don't necessarily, you're not asking for them, and you're just meant to push them right back out.
Mm-hmm.
There's a stream coming in from the universe of whatever you're attracting to you. You're meant to be filtering it automatically. And then eventually, if parts of your streams, you would just say, nope, that way. It just starts to get used to just going around you. It just doesn't even go into you. The good stuff gets filtered and you pull in what's right because you've already created the framework to avoid those thoughts in the future when they come.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think what Alissa said is great. We would love to hear your thoughts, those of you who are with us. What do you do as a perceiver of your thoughts? How do you remove yourself from just action reaction and constantly being triggered? How do you start to observe your thought patterns, and what do you do to perceive those? So any thoughts you have, any best practices, any ideas, anything that just comes to your mind, spur of the moment, throw it out. Let's put it on the screen and let's talk about it, because these are the impactful conversations that we're trying to have on these evenings of like, how do we create something new? How do we, in this intentional moment that's set aside right now, talk about this thing that we just put on autopilot that we don't even think about, and it hurts us every day of our lives? What can we do to press pause really quick, freeze frame it along the way and say, oh, look, that's a thought that didn't feel good. What can I do to go a different way? So even just talking about it feels powerful. I feel like I'm getting permission to press pause more often, and talking in front of others really helps do the same thing. So I feel like there's an aspect of validation to this whole thing that's really helpful too, like inviting others to be part of this experience with you as you start to feel your thoughts. Is that an important aspect of this too, of like having a discussion with somebody about, hey, I had this thought? Or is that something that you can just do within yourself?
I mean, there's no wrong answer to it, except for being aware that you have now two people's filters that you're having to work through. And as long as ultimately you're not taking their word over it, like, oh, that means this, like, don't assume that what they're saying is true. You have to always go back inward. You can let it like get you thinking, but not just take it in as truth. You are
Right.
always meant to be the filter. And because we've been gaslit and been told our thoughts are wrong and our perception's wrong and all these things that make us basically not trust our own perception, which is always valid, even if that valid is telling ourselves a lie, or even if we're changing our own reality based on the, purposely, it's still ours and it's still worthy. And it's our job in our self-sovereignty to be the one to look at it and to validate it. And that's what we lose when we actually take other people's, like when other people are trying to gaslight us and they're like, no, you're wrong. You saw it wrong. You heard it wrong. Your feelings are all wrong. I didn't mean that. They could tell you that's none of their business. All that their business is to hear how your perception is and then validate. Oh, so you heard it like this. You saw it like this. You feel it like this. Oh, okay. And that made you this. Okay.
Right.
I can validate that was your reality. That's all that is needed. But unfortunately, we all want to agree on reality and we overstep and try to change other people's reality because we want them to agree with what our perception is, which is not helpful and actually makes other people stop looking. They can't even look anymore. They don't even want to try to see because it's like, I'm not valid. My thoughts aren't valid. My feelings aren't valid. Every the way that I perceive the world is wrong. I just need you to tell me. You just tell me. And we give up the power and allow other people to tell us what it is. And therefore we stop being the observer at all because we don't trust the observer in us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have a lot of questions about that I want to get to. Absolutely. We've got some great comments right in line with what we're saying that I'll throw up first. And I'll just throw out there that if you're joining on Instagram, the comments don't link exactly like we like them to, but we'll do our best to write your comment for you and still put it up on the screen. So all of you who've joined on Instagram, please feel free to add your thoughts and we'll do our best to include them in the conversation. But we've got a stream of comments. We really appreciate this so much, you guys. This is our goal for the show, is to be able to really make it a group discussion that we talk about whatever it is that comes up. And Brian is going right in line with sort of what I was thinking. And this is like so much, I doubt I'll be able to unpack it properly, but you could probably help. But let me read this and then just give a little color, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, Alissa. But perception of intuition, how we receive the message from life. So perception from intuition, how we receive the message from life. So what that brings up for me is a new baby, like an infant. They just seem very clear about what aligns with them and what doesn't. They're either like taking it and loving it or screaming at it and rejecting it, like really quick off the bat from the time they're just a few months old. So do you feel like there is some like intuitive truth to our experience where things just align or they don't until we learn differently? Is there like a really strong connection between our intuition and our mind from those early times that we enter this life?
Yeah, that's a great question. Before we're really working a ton with our mind, our body's developing our capacity to talk. It's kind of like working up from the bottom up. So that's why at certain ages where you have more higher mind thinking and whatnot. But perception is something, intuition is something that we're born with. Mm-hmm. It is the voice inside that's kind of guiding us one way or another and can even warn us of things. And that intuition is something that we're meant to begin to start to trust again versus trusting everybody else or trusting our thoughts. Intuition comes from within. And it comes with feeling and like little messages that it's like, okay, trust me. All right. And it's usually kind of uncomfortable. Intuition always comes with like an action item, a potential action item that usually feels a little bit uncomfortable, because the only time intuition comes up is because it's trying to course correct. That's what intuition is. This doesn't feel right. This doesn't seem right. It's directing. So intuition is a very important aspect that we're born with, that if we started listening to it and used it to the power that we actually have, we would be able to mitigate so many choices and so many experiences just by trusting our own intuition. So I love that we're bringing intuition into the conversation. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, and he has a follow-up comment, and then we'll jump around to a couple others. But I completely agree with that. Is the intuition is that pause, and it's that like Brene Brown thing where you choose to be uncomfortable versus being resentful later, that you weren't true to yourself, and that's like the story of life. It seems like. So totally agree. And then the follow-up comment, which Angel chimed in. I believe this is one good one, Brian. He says, practice the pause, especially when speaking and interacting. Absorb the perspective and thoughts you're putting out with your voice. Use a pause in your mind. This is a really powerful statement. Use a pause in your mind to arrest input. I could probably read that 10 times, but what is that saying to you, Alissa?
Practice the pause. I mean, obviously, yeah, like the mindfulness is like, instead of just going in overdrive of go, just running with the first thought you have, or doing right after you think, or even just feeling right after you think, like, let's back up. Why are you thinking that? What is it you're thinking? Like, when you go back a little bit, instead of going forward, you begin to actually have the power to change your reality, to change what you're going to experience, and to start changing the filters of what you're seeing. And then especially when speaking and interacting. So it's like so common for us to feel like we got to talk, right? Like the pause is uncomfortable, right? Like, oh, I'm going to look like I'm stupid. I'm going to look like I don't know what I'm talking about. People are going to judge me. All these things make us feel like we just have to stay before we're ready to speak. And not that we're not allowed to take the time just to think and be like, I don't know, that's interesting. Let's think about that. Versus just say the first thing that comes to your mind of what is going on and interacting. So like, yeah, let me actually take this moment to go inward and to look at what I'm thinking and to feel a few things. I love that too. And then observe the perspective and thoughts you are putting out with your voice. So then obviously being able to talk through what you're thinking, and then being able to hold the space to look at that from another layer. I thought this, and what do you think about this? So you'd be able to see higher every time you're going inward, because you're leveling up the perception when you go deeper, which is really more like going up. Why did I think that? Well, why did I think that? Well, why did I think that? And then you finally get to the core of whatever thought is harming you the most, that like started the problem in the first place.
Right.
Well, because when I'm in childhood, this thing happened to me and I made it mean something about me. Oh, okay. So let's rewrite that. What would you have said as a child if you had the voice and the know-how to your parent or to the friend, and then it rewrites that program in your mind, and you were then cleared out from a very deep trauma?
Yeah, it's so interesting, but I've found that to be true with you, and we'll talk about QHHT here in a second. But almost every single trigger, almost every single pause can lead you back to the beginning of your life, or even someone else's life that happened before yours, and it's incredible. But I've found that to be true.
Yeah, and the time, whatever, like we think like, oh, there's not enough time for that. Like, we don't realize how much time we are wasting of our life.
I don't remember. I can't remember that.
I don't know. We just put up these walls that make us not be able to rewrite things, which will give us so much time and energy, so much abundance, so much joy, that there's not enough time not to.
Especially if we have resistance to it, right? Like the harder we resist it, the more that's a sign.
Or likely there's something very valuable there that we need to uncover.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love it. So thank you again so much. And we've got another stream of comments from Angel and then Angie that we'll get to. But yeah, it's so powerful. And I love that last part. Use a pause to arrest input. It's like, oh, something's there. I'm not going to let anything else just keep going in and keep getting triggered or keep going down this rabbit hole or whatever it is. So powerful, Brian. Speaking the truth, true wisdom. We really appreciate that. So right in same vein, Angel says, it's taking the time to feel, love that feeling, that feels like the intuition side of it, feel the energy and know how to perceive it and how to move with my own truth. So that feels like that resonates really deeply with what you were saying, where it's feeling and not just thinking. Is that kind of what you were saying earlier?
And the information, a lot of the information we're taking in is other people's voices. It's their perception, it's their meaning. And if we just take it for truth versus being like, okay, that's theirs, let's separate that and let's see what my truth is around that subject. and see if there's anything here that's valuable that I'd like to take in, and then just discard the rest, versus just like someone has a really bad day and really bad thoughts, and you just take on all that energy and you become that energy because you don't know how to filter it and only take what is true for you, anything you actually want inside of your energy field.
Right.
I love that, Angel.
Yeah, I really do too. And I completely feel that from being around you, Angel. It's obvious that you do a lot of work to only allow bright energy into your field. And it's such a powerful practice. So reiterating, stop and feel. Does it feel good or bad in the energy field? And Angel, I would love it if there's a comment that you might be able to help us understand what are some of the good feelings that you associate with goodness, and what are some of the ones that you associate with not good or bad. Like, does it make you smile? Does it feel giggly? Does it feel bright? Are there colors? Like any of that? Because some of us are a little bit slower to learn these energetic truths. So anything else that you can add about how to decipher what feels good for you? And everybody could be different, but would love to hear a little bit more. Anything you'd like to chime in on that one, Alissa?
Yes, just being able to begin to sense, because the signature is pretty easy to cut through. Like you can dissect a thought and go back, but sometimes if you become just in tune with energy, you can automatically be like, that energy is not something I want, that energy, and it's bigger. So it cuts down the process of needing to dissect it, and instead it's like energy in that way, energy this way. If it makes me feel heavy, I'm not dealing with that right now. And eventually, like, if it's something that's inside you, you can then be like, hey, why am I feeling this anyways? But as far as the beginning, you become the one to filter the negative from the positive, then you're not having to take in all this information that's going to just drain you. You're taking in the good stuff and saying no to the rest. So I love that.
Yeah, that feels completely true. Now, the next one, I really love this because this is something that we were talking about a little bit earlier today from Angie, bringing up something. And then we have a couple great comments from Instagram. But I really love this one, and I would love to hear your thoughts on it too. We were talking about this a little bit earlier, but Angie says, I heard that if you fully trust yourself, you are able to trust anyone because you trust your truth.
Interesting. I have a few things to say about that, but I love that perception. Depending on your definition of trust. So I think what you're saying, and tell me if I'm wrong, but if you trust yourself, so you know yourself well enough to be able to say no to things, and your beliefs are secure in yourself, you don't feel threatened by anybody else's perception, anybody else's what they think is their truth. You can trust that you can hold the space for them. Be like, oh yeah, I trust that your perception is good for you. You don't need to change it. You trust that that's right for them, and there's not a need to like change it because you feel safe. But when you don't trust your own, you feel threatened by anybody else's truth or perception that means something about you. So I think that's what you're saying, but tell me if I'm wrong. And I love that. So important. Yep. 100%. What did you get from that?
Yeah, I wrote it down as something to come back to when it comes to the gaslighting and the doubting your reality and what that can bring up in just a minute. But yeah, I think it's such an important aspect of this whole thing of trust and truth, and how those two things are so deeply connected, and how we can better honor that. So let's come back to this in just a little bit, because that's the goal, is to reach that point that nobody can convince you that your reality isn't real. And so we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But really exciting to be bringing a couple of these comments over from Instagram. So I don't know if you know this handle, Alissa, but I think it says Ash and Cashman.
What is it?
Ash and Cashman. Not sure if that is somebody that you specifically know, but thank you so much for your comment.
I don't remember the name, but yes.
Yeah, I don't know how to copy the little icon over your avatar, but Ash and Cashman adds, boundaries, 100%, do so much for our mental health and well-being, choosing how you'll move through the world and not letting others dictate your self-worth. So this whole idea of the third eye and the word boundaries feels really powerful. So how would you say the boundaries can interact with our perception and the way we choose to view our thoughts?
Yeah, first thing that comes through for me is like, we feel like we have to hold space for everybody else. right? Like I experience this even sometimes with like close friends. It's like, oh, I have to sit here and listen to this because that's what a good friend does. But maybe a good friend is the one that holds the boundaries and teaches them where it's time for them to go inward. If we're just taking all the shit from everybody else because we're just being a good friend, as they're just like, oh, they're just talking trash and they're having all the bad thoughts. And I have someone specifically that comes around that I won't bring up, but I realized that I had a boundary because I do really want to hold space for people. That's one of the things that brings me joy, especially if I can give a new perception. But a lot of people don't want that. They just want a space to just blah and be valid in their blah, right?
Right.
And that's okay for some people. Some people like to join you in the blah, but if you get to decide and it's completely valid for you to say, like, I'm not actually comfortable like in this energy, I would like to take a break, or I need to go and do something else. You have the right and the boundary to say that energy is not something I want to interact with. And by doing so, you create, even if they have a bad reaction, protection for yourself for that energy. So whether it be just in direct conversation with somebody or deciding like what you're going to watch, what you're comfortable with, you do deserve to be able to protect yourself in the information that you're bringing in. And so owning it as far as those boundaries go, in what information you're bringing in and how other people's lenses and perceptions and judgments of you, when you're going to say, no, thank you, I'm not even going to interact with that. Or you're going to stand up for yourself and say, boundary, that's not fair, and then leave it, like, without having to engage in it and draining further.
Right. Yeah. And learning how to do that gracefully and authentically is such a struggle for some of us, to learn how to interact with the world in a way that's true to you when you're still learning how to interact with yourself. And I really love the comment from Eve. This is like any of us who are feeling a little overwhelmed, a little like, this is a lot of work, I'm not quite sure. Eve, we learn to hear the perception after 35. So it takes a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of trial and error, and a lot of probably situations that you don't stand up for yourself and put those boundaries and then learn the lesson. It's like, how many times do you really want to hurt yourself before you're willing to be true to yourself? And those feel like the traumas that get trapped in our ability to perceive. It's like not trusting ourselves anymore. So
right. And a lot of times by the time you get to the age where you can really start to rewrite all this and re-gear for the rest of your life, you're so burnt out from feeling like you're even valid or worthy that you're just on coast. You're like, I found the little thread that can make me feel even the littlest bit of joy, and I'm so threatened that will be taken away that I'm not willing to look at anything different. And that's right. What a lot of us do. We just coast. But that's not what New Earth is about. It's about, okay, there's something so abundant and so beautiful, and the past can be rewritten and the future can be redrawn. And it's my power that I pull in and take all the treasures from my traumas, from my experience, and then cast them out to my future and grow new seeds that are serving me, not taking from me.
Exactly. Yeah, that feels, and I would say Eve's comment is like right in line. I was like around 35 when I started learning some of these things, and I still am very much in that place. So I agree. And if we can learn it, that's our generation, right? If we can do that, at what age will the next generation learn it? Whatever that, like minus 20, they're like teenagers, right? And that
hopefully in our home, hopefully we can actually give them that information from the get-go, and they won't have to experience it the way that, because we've already done the work. And that's how generational, like that's the whole idea, is that we're cleansing the palette to then have fresh new experiences moving forward. You're not dealing with all the sludge of the past. We clear it so that the new generation doesn't have to do it anymore.
Right.
And our past generations have done a lot of the work. Like, think about where we're at right now. Our grandfathers and grandmas, they had way more trauma and less sovereignty and all these things. And whatever they did to further that generation, we then didn't have to. That's why we have to be so grateful for whatever everybody else went through and whatever they were able to transcend, because it got a little bit easier for the next, a little bit easier again. And that's what we're doing.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And I have a very tender moment coming through, and I'm sorry. But right in the middle of talking about all this, my mom has posted a comment that I would like to put on the screen. And I just have to share that it means a lot for you to be here, Mom. So I'm going to have you read this one if you don't mind.
Love you, Mom. So giving over someone else. Yeah.
Sorry, quick pause. She said this is a fundamental attrition error. That's what she's describing when we give our power to someone else to say our reality is not real. I skipped that comment. This is explaining what fundamental attrition error is.
Okay. So I missed the first part. Why don't you read it?
Okay, yeah, I'm back. Just needed a second. So I think it's actually fundamental attribution to look at your 2 comments, Mom. So great to hear from you. And I'm so glad that you can join. So fundamental attribution is giving over to someone else their perception of an issue or attributing to others our mind and thoughts. And I think that's what you're saying about giving away our power. It's like if you accept someone else's version of what's your reality,
right.
Now you've made that fundamental
or thinking that you're same as what you're saying on the other end. Like we feel like we need to change someone else's perception. That's not our job. That's the boundary that we're trying to figure out is ours and not ours. That is not our job to change your perception. That's your job. So you can give yours and be like, that's just mine. Yours is your own. And that's your job to deal with. But you're not going to change mine. Because we feel like people have taken over it, then we're trying to do the same for other people. But the true power is in saying, this is mine, and only I can decide this. And when I say this is my truth, this is mine. There's nothing you could do about it. And when you know that for yourself, and that's what we were talking about earlier, when you hold that power and then it's not threatening when other people come in, because you're not going to let them change it. You can hear it, and then you can say, oh, let me see how I feel about that before it gets through your filter, and then you can bring in what feels good. Oh, I never thought about it. That really feels true for me, because you just saw what it felt like and it felt true. Now it becomes a part of what you are understanding versus, oh, I must be wrong because you see it differently. You automatically, if you've been gaslit and have trauma in this third eye, you automatically just go into, oh, you're right. You must be right. Okay, yeah, I was wrong. And it's a lot more of a female trait than masculine trait. Women especially, I feel like automatically, oh, you must be right. You must be right. And men automatically, I am right and you must be wrong. Like there's kind of like a balance there, and it's not everyone. But for our female viewers, become aware how easy it is for you to submit to like your partners or anybody else, because it's a wound that lives in you that you're meant to hold your own witness to say, I'm valid because I think it, because I feel it, because I experienced it, because I saw it, I heard it. And it doesn't matter if you say you didn't do it. I trust myself. And you can disagree, and that's okay. That's your perception. Mm-hmm. Mine is this, and this is true. And it doesn't matter if you believe it. And nothing you say is going to change it. Then you don't have to keep trying to agree on the reality. Instead, you could just move forward with yours. So it did make me feel that way. What do I want to do about that?
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah, and I think to back up what you're saying and reinforce and validate that, it's just impossible not to say that over time, man has silenced woman, because we live in a patriarchal world where every god is male, and didn't used to be that way. So that's all Alissa is saying. And that comes from a deep place for me, because what I learned over time is that I really only felt the need to do that to her, to try to convince her to change her reality, because I was constantly doing it to myself. So how much of that masculine wound is just being projected, his own inner demons, onto her?
Right. And going back to, like, we're not saying man and woman, we're saying masculine, feminine, but men usually have more of the masculine, less of the feminine. So this whole thing that's going on is going on inside of your mind. Which part of them have which part of it is actually engaged the most? Are you speaking? Are you acting from the masculine part of you or the feminine? Because a lot of times the women are going to be more so engaging with the feminine, and the masculine will be more so allowing this part to guide them. And that's why it feels a lot more imbalanced on one side than the other, depending on the masculine. But I don't want to say like, oh, men this and women this. I would rather say masculine and feminine, and say that the part of us that feels small and unworthy, that part is what where we're meant to say you are just as worthy. You are just as important. There is no better or worse. It is just that they're both valid. Even if they contradict themselves, they're both valid. And that is like a mind F, right? Like, how could two realities be true at the same time? Because both of them are seeing it through different lenses. And it's their job to determine why they see it the way that they do. It's not your job to change the reality. All that your job is to look at you and to own you and to validate you, and then to decide what lenses you like and which ones are hurting you. And that's your job. And the big wound in the, again, what is the word? I didn't want to say it wrong. Ajna. In the ajna is that my reality isn't valid and is wrong. And as soon as you believe that about yourself, you no longer are willing to take the time to experience it, to express it, and to change it, because it's not even worth your time, because you are invalid. As a human, you are invalid. And I've been through that, and it is so traumatizing to the point where I don't even know what I want. I don't know what I think. I don't know what I feel. I'm just waiting for everybody else to tell me what they need, what they think, what they feel, so that I could be of service. And that is a very common trait that can be tended to, as long as we get back that power and that right to say, my reality is true. It is true for me, and that's all that matters. And if that's all you need is you to validate it, then you no longer are susceptible to everybody else's need to change your reality. Because I don't need your approval on what I experienced, what I heard, what I felt, what I thought. That's mine. That's it. And then the conversations can simply be, oh, interesting. Why do you see it that way? What did you hear? That's so interesting that you saw it that way. I saw it this way. How interesting that we could be two humans having a completely different experience.
Right.
It did hurt me when you said that, even if you don't believe you said it. And because it hurt me, I'm going to tend to myself and validate my own feelings because it was hurtful. And then I have the power to shift it depending on why did it hurt me so badly. But it's mine, and it's my feelings, and it's mine, and it's always valid. And that's what I didn't get, is like I had to wait for somebody else to validate my reality. And I was surrounded, I was always choosing somebody that was incapable of validating it, because if they did anything wrong, they thought they were unworthy of as a human. So they had to change everybody else's reality and experience, because if they were in a world where they're doing something wrong, their world meant that they're not valid.
Right.
And that was the problem of them. So instead of waiting for anybody else to figure it out and agree with my reality, I just had to learn how to stop needing the approval and instead approve myself. And that was a big shift. And even in our relationship, when I started being like, I don't care if you don't think that happened. It did happen. And I'm not going to sit here and hear how it didn't happen. I'm done with this conversation. And when I started doing that, I started feeling stronger. I'm like, oh, okay. So if I don't need him to agree. And then when I noticed that when I started doing that, you started coming around, because I wasn't putting up with it. I wasn't going to hear it. So the only conversation I was going to have is if you had come around to be like, okay, so I can validate that you had this experience. It's like, okay, we'll talk about that. But it's up to us to put those boundaries, say, I'm not even going to go there if you don't want to validate it, because I'm here validating myself.
Right.
If you want to join this, then you're going to have to step up. If not, step out, and that's it.
Yeah, it all feels like it starts with a boundary, and then when the time's right, that boundary becomes a bridge, just like in the old castle movies. But it all starts with being willing to have that boundary and not to let the war in intermittently, consistently all day long. And that was the shift for our whole family, for our generational healing that we are experiencing in our home. And I'm so grateful that you started to do that. And by the way, it's Ashley Lloyd who has been.
Oh, hello, Ashley.
She's got fire. Here comes more. You ready? And she gave you 3 cheers for what you had just said, which is so powerful. And that feels like it's so important. It's so important to find your boundary and to declare it. Everything starts to change when you do that. And so she adds to that context. It can be very challenging to have those around you perceive you differently than you perceive yourself, because it's hard to trust yourself on your own truth if they disagree. And that's basically the same lesson that you were discussing, right?
Right. It's hard to trust. But if you just decide that it does not matter, it's true because it's yours. And even if you're wrong, it's still true because it was yours at that time, because through your perception, you were right. Now, if you want to go deeper and see, like, is there anything here that I am not wanting to see the truth about, then that's your job to do that. But that's yours. And it's more helpful for you to start putting the boundaries up and then going inward than it is to wait for everybody else to try to break it all down, to try to prove that you're wrong, that you were wrong the whole time. Like, you are going to be more likely, even if that's true, to then like cower inward and then want to run, versus, no, it's mine and I'm not going to talk about it. And then on your own time and in your own space, learn how to love yourself enough to uncover. And then if you need to apologize, then that's great. But you did it on your own time instead of someone raping you in that mind and taking it from you and forcing you to surrender. It's not really helpful. So your boundary, you are worthy of those boundaries. You are worthy of your truth. Even if your truth is wrong, it is valid because it is yours. So hold it true.
Love that. It really doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. What matters is it's yours and you're claiming it, right?
And that you're worthy to claim it, and you're worthy to say no, and you're worthy to put a boundary, even if that means that you're being ignorant. Because if you feel that power to be able to do that, guess what? You're going to create a little bit more safety that will feel comfortable to consider if you were wrong. Because they're not right there at your gate with it's trying to stab you. It's just now. You've held it. So it's valid. Hold the space. And then if you feel up to it, consider. But that's still your right to say, no, I trust myself. And you could even be wrong, and that's okay. Like, trust yourself that you're worthy to say that I trust myself, and then go inward. And then you can still say, I was wrong. I realized that I see this. And doesn't that feel way better than them forcing you to believe them at that time and surrendering to it, versus like holding a boundary, feeling safe, and then going inward on your own time?
Absolutely. And it gives you the chance to learn yourself and to be yourself and to then determine your reality from there. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't even have to be tethered to any of those thoughts at all. Just claim them as yours and then see if they fit or not, and then move on.
Right.
And that's such a shift, because we're used to a world that tells you what to believe, ridicules you if you're wrong, and then forces you to conform. And it's so different to then be the filter that determines really your life path. So one follow-up from Ashley, which we only have like a 200 word count thing, characters on YouTube. So the end says the difference, but totally. And approaching others with curiosity to discover and understand their truth instead of judgment or criticism of their truth, and practicing that with yourself first makes all the difference. And it's so funny that she says that, because that was literally the exact period of Alyssa's life that I met her during 5 years ago. And it was the first time in my life I'd ever met somebody like that. Curious about everything, but with no attachment to any of it. And it was the shift that we both had needed. So not sure if that may come from
and just a side note, to become like we said earlier, it becomes safe to be unattached when you feel like you are safe in your own truth. If you don't feel like you have to be right, you just feel like it's mine and I deserve that and I can protect it, and it can change. You change it anytime, and that's okay. I am just the one observing it, and that it's allowed to change, it's allowed to do all these things. Then when you come in contact with other people, it's just information that doesn't threaten you, because you're already comfortable with flowing through your own experiences and holding space for yourself. It's like, oh, sure, I can hold space for that and just see how that feels, because it's not a threat if you aren't attached. If you are not attached to all these things, you're just becoming the observer to all the things that make you feel bad, make you feel good. If you become aware and intuitive of like, this energy does not feel like love. This doesn't feel like something that comes from a frequency of high love. This one does, this one doesn't, and this one does. then you can start filtering it, and then you feel safe because it's like, that feels true, so I'm going to let that in. If it doesn't feel good, you can be like, well, I'll put that to the side and maybe think of it another time. But you're not threatened anymore by anybody else's beliefs, thoughts, feelings, patterns, because you have a clear capacity to not judge yourself over their perception, because you lost the judgments. You already cleared them all out. So now all that's left is just observation and a perception that's based on one thing: love, forgiveness. Like, there's the core. When your perception, your I am and your observer is in frequency of love and forgiveness without judgment, then suddenly their judgments is just something to witness. It's not something to then have to make it mean something about you, because it no longer does.
Right.
You're not making any negative beliefs off of anything you're seeing, because you've cleared it all out. And it's just to see with what is. And what is eventually everybody gets to is it's love. That's the core. And it's forgiveness. It is not judgment. There is no judgment in this high frequency. And when those start to drop away, you be able to see everyone and everything around you in a frequency that holds no judgment. Then you just become the one to witness. It is a witness. I'm witnessing, and it's curious. Oh, what does their perception look like? What is it? What might it feel like? You just become the one witnessing other people's experiences, but yours is clear because the judgment is no longer within you.
Mm-hmm.
That's also why it's super important to recognize what parts feel really bad to you or what feels negative when you're perceiving it, because it's within you. When you've cleared it out in yourself and other people are experiencing it, it's like you're looking at a child that doesn't understand and is making, like, they hit their head on a cabinet and they're like, you understand. Right. So you can have compassion for them, but you're not making it mean something about you, even if you're the cabinet.
Yeah, and you helped us recently. These conversations on Tuesdays, we do a similar one with our kids on Sundays. You helped us recently identify our self-judgments with a little exercise that we did. Do you remember that one? Would you like to mention it?
The Byron one?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet. This one I learned quite a while ago, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. So you kind of get tricked into it at the beginning, because it's like, okay, make your worst judgments on everybody in your life. Just like take a good throw at everybody that's been bugging you for last week, right? Oh my gosh, like, George is so annoying. He did this and this and this. And then my mom, blah, 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 blah. You just write all the judgments about everybody in your life, whatever the harshest judgments are, okay? And then you take those and you turn them inward. So, Baroda is so annoying because he did this. When have you been annoying? When have you done something similar? And where does that story live in you? When you stop projecting and you stop judging, I mean, you become aware of your judgments because they're already there. Even if you try not to judge it, it's going to be there. I'm not going to think about that. I shouldn't. Those are still a sign that there's a judgment in you. So if you use that and you turn it inward, okay, so I am annoying. This is what I believe. Because I'm believing about someone else. So it's inward. So I am annoying because I did something like this. Okay, so then you ask, is it true? Is there any possibility that it's not true? Okay, and then how would it feel to believe something different? So how would it feel to believe that I'm not annoying, but I this? So it changes, it allows you to like then touch on the idea, a new thought. I am lovable. I am enough. I'm not annoying. It might have annoyed somebody, but I'm not. I'm enough. I'm valid. And then once you realize and you attach this new thought, you get to decide, okay, how about that? And then you can rework it into your consciousness. But we always project all of our judgments that are around everyone else, everyone we can't stand. That is the best person to do the work on, because that is the person that is the best mirror for the parts of you that you have rejected, that you do not love, that does not feel valid, that you judge yourself so harshly that you're running from that part of yourself. And it was probably from childhood. You don't even remember that part of yourself, because I was a child. I don't even do that anymore. There's no way. I would never be caught. I would never be caught being like that, because that's disgusting. Like, I remember the annoying thing is me, like, big time. And I remember the kids that had the biggest voice and were the most willing to just say what they thought. I was like, I remember 12 years old, and I'd like overcome it or whatever. But there was a few people in my life that I was like, I felt disgusted, like complete disgust of these people. And it just made my skin crawl when they were around. Everything they said, it just like irritated me. And it wasn't until later in life when I did the work that I realized the people that were the most annoying and irritable, that I got most irritable about, was the parts of me that I had rejected. So I became the quiet one, don't talk, hold myself in. But naturally, I was very loud. I was very like, oh, and I was so funny and fun. And like, that was me. And now
I love watching those videos of you. It's so true. The most boisterous of all children you could ever imagine.
And silly and emotional and big. Like, that was what my core was. But then the more that I suppressed, the more I hated everybody else, because I hated that part about me. And that's what the mirror is. And that's what the work is recognizing that all the judgment outward is actually a mirror of the parts of us that we reject, that we do not love, that we're meant to be like, maybe it's lovable. Maybe I was wrong originally. Not that they're wrong and that they're bad. Maybe I am good. Maybe I am worthy. Maybe I deserve to have a voice and to be loud if I want to be loud. And I can consider that it makes you uncomfortable. That doesn't mean I have to change. Maybe you need to move. Maybe we need to create more space. Maybe you need headphones on, right?
Right.
Instead of making it mean something bad about you, realize that you're valid, you are worthy, you are everything the way you came. Your natural man is not an enemy to God. You are God embodied, and that you deserve a voice, you deserve your experience. And even if your choices are hurting other people, it doesn't mean you're bad. It just means that so you can become aware that there might be a better way that doesn't hurt another person, because they too are God. They too are embodied in this consciousness that has chosen to separate, to experience a brand new perception, because we found it valuable to do that, and to have all these different parts to get to interact as family. This beautiful experience is based on the fact that we get to lie to ourselves. We get to have this new experience and make up things that aren't true about ourselves. And other people can make up things that aren't true about ourselves, and we can live it. And we are waking up to realize that we've made up a lot of bad things about ourselves that are not true. And it is our job to filter and become aware of which parts of our belief system are hurting us, harming us, and making us not be sovereign, not be true to who we are, and to love that part about ourselves, and realize that there's a gift for every little unique thing that came unique to you. No more throw the shade, or like allow people to throw the shade on those little quirks, little parts that are different. That's your gift. That is the gift. The part that was shamed the most is the gift. Even if it is something that you were meant to tweak in order to not do the thing that you did in a more safe way, or not do it harmfully, whatever drove you to do it is valid. Especially if it came from passion and excitement. You might just need to learn how to do it better, but the judgment is what cut it from here and then made it start to grow into something deformed.
Right.
You're perfect the way you are, and that's what this job is, to go back into source of yourself and say, I am valid, and the judgment is not part of me anymore. I love myself, I am valid, I am worthy, I am good. And this third eye, I'm just going to say Anja because I can't even anymore, is the part that we become aware of what is going through. It's the one to witness what is happening and change it. So that's the part of our third eye. Awake means I'm aware, and I am now consciously choosing to decipher which parts of these things in my own mind and my own thoughts have I allowed to go through and meant it mean something about me that I can clean out, clear, and be sovereign and free.
Woo! Yeah.
Where's my fire this time?
No, that feels
up too.
What?
Only got 1 minute left.
Yeah, we can go a little over. It's our show. We get to decide. Okay. But you evoked some great comments that we'd love to show before people may have to jump off and run back to the busy lives that we have. Really love and appreciate Cassandra's comment. Learning to validate yourself is such a life changer. Couldn't agree more. I think that you were right on the same wavelength with everything that you were just explaining about your own experience. And then from Angie. Really appreciate this one too. Very profound. I'm going to need your help dissecting this one, but self-love is the key to the hardest door to open.
I would love to hear what she believes the door is, but I do believe it is the biggest door back to soul. And it's all about the love. We can't truly receive the treasure of all that we truly are until we're willing to receive the love that we've always been, which means taking accountability for all the parts that we said weren't lovable, all the parts that we rejected, all the choices we made because we believe we weren't enough, we were all the things we created. We don't want to look at because we're scared we've made so many bad choices and are too hard on ourselves to say that it's still okay and that we could step into a more true version of ourselves. And that is all about the self-love. And I think what she's saying, the key being self-love, how do we get that key? What's it take to get that key? It's really hard to get that key because it means going through the fire of all the parts of ourselves that we have chosen not to love till we finally end up with a part that is true, which is I am love. I have come from love. I will continue with love. And I forgive myself for not seeing it the whole time. Then you have that key and you can open the door to your reality expanded where I am everything and everything is me. And I am love embodied. Woohoo! There it is. So I love the way she said it, and the way that she wrote it made it us have to decipher it. So I love that too.
Yeah, you gave us a perfect note to end on. I don't feel that there's anything more to it than that. It's removing all the blocks that have separated us from the love that was within us all along and always has been and always will be, so that we can have full access, full communion all the time, everywhere, eyes open, eyes shut, no matter what the situation or circumstance. We have that power. We don't block ourselves from it anymore. We give ourselves full access with that key. And Angie said nailed it. So, great work with that. So this was by far our most lively conversation yet. I got chills and jitters all over. I'll be buzzing for the next week until next Tuesday when again we'll announce what.
We get on the show for next week for anyone that wants to join.
I mean, if you're feeling the call, sure. Let's do it. You give a quick rundown and I'll put a link to her website on the screen.
Yes, my Akashic Record teacher, who is actually the owner of the school, the program that I went through in order to get it, Emily. What is her last name?
Harrison.
Yes, Emily Harrison. She's been all over, and you can read all about her, but I love her so much. She's so incredible, so tapped in, and she's all about where we're going to go with the crown, the capacity to basically download anything and everything all there, all at once. This is who we get to be on our show, and we get to pick her brain. So anybody that wants to meet her, wants to talk to her, ask her questions, we'd love to have you join us. I'm super stoked.
Yeah, it will be. And her trademark time of the year is the Lionsgate portal, August 8th. Every year she does a retreat to Mount Shasta. And right in the middle of all her preparations and lots of stuff she's got going on this year, she will be bringing that energy to the show right into the crown chakra. I'm getting more chills. That's going to be such a powerful time for such a appropriate conversation. I can't wait. So
and at the end too, so it's really fun. A little bit of a finale.
Time to really. So, and Brian, thank you so much. We love you, brother.
Love you guys, miss you.
Everyone's comments and time, and we really hope to see you next week as we culminate these chakra healing conversations Tuesday night.
Yes, love you.